Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Helsinki Music Center. Welcome to KASKI. My name is Jani Toivola, and I have the great privilege of being your host this evening. Second historical KASKI. It's also my second time hosting KASKI, and I have to say, I've been hosting quite many events, and last year's KASKI is definitely one of the best nights I've ever had professionally on stage. Something from that night stayed with me, the lessons that I learned, the stories that I was told, the experiences that I was shared. I noticed that they stayed with me, and they've been staying with me throughout the year, changing the way how I look at myself and how I look at other people. How do I look at growth or success or the world or the way of being a human being? So a magnificent night it truly was. And tonight we are here again. Personally, I think KASKI is about us people coming together with different kind of backgrounds, different kind of stories, different kind of strengths, different kind of challenges, different kind of experiences. For me, KASKI is about growth, about being brave, about breaking new ground, about starting from scratch or reaching even higher. It's about fulfilling dreams, but it's also about being concrete. Big words, I have to say. Dreams, overcoming obstacles, breaking new grounds. But it's good to remember that behind every word, there's always us, individuals, human beings. And the biggest question of them all, how to have the strength and ability to hold on to ourselves. How to have the strength and ability to hold on to the things that we feel are the best qualities in ourselves and our organizations, in our lives. And that is actually a question that I've been also thinking myself personally, working in politics. I've been in politics now for 5 years, and I have to say that the biggest challenge for me has been how to maintain oneself. Stepping into a culture that has a long history, way of doing things, what are you supposed to say and what you're not supposed to say, how you're supposed to look or how you're supposed to speak. How in the middle of all that, hold on to oneself and have the strength to follow your heart, your passions, the path that feels right for you. But that wasn't actually the first time I had to think about these things. Growing up in Finland, having a white mother and a black father was quite challenging at times living in Finland. And I remember when I was a 14-year-old young boy and I realized my biggest dream in life, I want to be an actor, I want to be a performer, I want to be on stage. Huge moment, realizing the pathway and the door that I want to open that would bring in all the things that I felt were the greatest in the world. I had been acting and dancing since I was 4 years old, realizing the big dream. But when I realized my big dream, next to the dream became huge fear. And the fear turned into a question. Is it possible for me to be an actor looking like this? And where the question came from was that when I, in Finland, went to see Finnish theater, or I saw Finnish films, or I saw Finnish TV series, I never saw people like me doing the things that I dreamed about. And that was the moment that life for the first time threw the challenge at me. How to have the strength and ability to hold on to oneself. How to have the strength to hold on to the things that I feel are the best in me. Even if sometimes I have to be one breaking ground. Even if sometimes I have to be the first one opening a door. Even if sometimes I am the one in my community doing something for the first time. Even if sometimes there's no words even for what I'm doing. How to still have the courage to hold on to oneself and stay true to oneself. That is my personal sharing of this evening. And I promise this is the only time I'm going to open up about my personal life. From now on, it's much more talented people, professional people, and great people coming on this stage throughout the evening. But it's a great privilege to be part of this evening and to be part of you. And now, I would hope that you give a huge round of applause for the maestro of the evening, Lenni Kalle Taipale. before the first speaker, I want to just very quickly show you the agenda of the evening. The evening is divided into 3 different sections. Part 1 is an introduction to what these high-growth, mid-sized companies and scale-ups are and why they matter to our economy, as well as some perspectives from history and the government's role in all of this. And then part 2, which is the beef of this event. 14 brave entrepreneurs, CEOs, and doers give their most useful lessons learned into good use. And this is where it gets really honest, to the point, and also maybe sometimes vulnerable. Not shying away from talking also about some things that went horribly wrong. And part 3, finally, we wrap up with some words on what comes next and where do we go from here. But now, ladies and gentlemen, I have a great privilege to welcome the first speaker of the evening, the CEO of Kasvuryhmä, the brain, the mind, the thinking, and the creativity behind it all. Let's give a huge round of applause, Annu Nieminen.
Wow, that was quite an opening for this evening, Jani. Thank you for opening also your own experiences. It leads us well to this evening. Minister Mykkänen, dear friends, it makes me so happy to see all of you here, smiling and anticipating what's actually happening. How many of you think you have at least some kind of a guess of why we're all sitting here tonight? Impressive, impressive. Almost everybody has a guess. Why we're here tonight has to do with our mission, Kasvuryhmä's mission. Very simply put, and very shortly put, our mission is to create a healthy, growing, and thriving mid-cap sector to Finland. If we look at the economic background, and I bet many of you know about these numbers, at least from the media, our mid-sized sector at this moment in Finland is not only kind of skinny in size, but also not growing all that rapidly. Obviously, something needs to be done, and this is known for all of us. Now, what can be done about this? There are a couple of different options, a couple of different things one can do if we are worried about this phenomenon. In Finland, we love always to form committees. We call them työryhmä. And we also love to write reports, and we're really good at them. But the reason why we're here today, and the whole idea behind Kasvuryhmä, was that we thought there's probably not time for that right now. Finland can't wait for us to write report or form committees. And also, when you look a little bit more in detail into this problem that we're trying to solve, you see that it's actually kind of a big, when you look at the whole big ecosystem and all of the companies, and you look at how many companies are there actually that are over 10 million, willing and able to grow, it's not actually that many. Depending on how you actually define that, it's like 400 to 500 companies. So there's no need to form any committees. We can just gather everybody up in a room like this. And that's what Kasvuryhmä is all about. In addition to the economic rationale, at least as important rationale for Kasvuryhmä's existence is that we believe it's time for a cultural shift in Finland. We have a lot of great qualities in Finnishness. We are very honest, we are extremely loyal, we're hardworking, and we're often technically quite good. But there are also some parts that it's time we change them and we update them into the 21st century. And those parts that I'm talking about have to do with old sayings like, ken kuuseen kurkottaa, se katajaan kapsahtaa. If you didn't get that because you don't speak Finnish, you missed absolutely nothing, because that saying is total crap. It has absolutely no wisdom in it. Loosely translated, if you really try something, you're gonna get screwed. What? Okay. I guess it's pretty clear for all of us that some kind of a cultural shift is in place. We want to say it's okay to try new things, to try big things, to set even ambitious goals and maybe even succeed in them. That needs to be okay, and that's one of the reasons why we're here today. Okay, so that's why we're here. Next question is, many of you were here last year at KASKI, as Jani was also. And you're probably wondering, so what have they actually achieved in the past year? We've now been, as an organization, we are still a toddler. We got started with this nationwide movement and actually bringing entrepreneurs together last year's January. Of course, before that, there was the brilliant, magnificent founding member group who got together. But this actual larger scale operation started last year's January. And let's have a look where we are today compared to that. So today, when you look at the Kasvuryhmä members and where we were in the beginning of last year, the combined turnover of the companies is 13 billion euros. It means that there's about 200 companies, the median turnover is 37 million. So we're talking about the everyday life of SME companies in Finland. We believe that it is extremely important, and our first principle is that you need to be brave enough to set really ambitious targets. We call these targets outrageous promises, törkeä lupaus. We don't like any pretty little words. It's törkeä lupaus. The combined outrageous promises right now for the Kasvuryhmä members add up to 25 billion euros of turnover by 2020. That means, as many of you math wizards can quickly count, it means that it's 12 billion euros of new turnover by 2020. Okay, is this a lot? Is this a little? To give you a reference point, Finnish SMEs, when you look at historically, what has the growth really been about? This is now a data point from Tilastokeskus, Statistics Center Finland. We know that the SMEs, overall the whole group, grew, depending a little bit on the definition, 0.5 to 0.8% per year in a similar 5-year period that we're looking at. So is this realistic at all? Doubling your business in 5 years, which is the ambition that we threw in there, not actually thinking through that, is this doable? It means 15% per year growth. And as you can see, it's quite a change to the average growth rate that we're looking at. So we started to also get a little bit nervous, like, can this actually be done? Or was this just a crazy idea that doubling sounds good and 5 years sounds good? Is this 15% growth anything that we can even go close to? Or is this totally out of our reach? A couple of days before KASKI, getting ready for you guys, we did a quick pre-poll among the Kasvuryhmä members to see where we stand today. And do we have any chance of actually going anywhere near that target that we've been so bravely inspiring everybody else about? And I'm happy to tell that 89 Kasvuryhmä members, almost half, answered the quick survey and were brave enough to give their estimate for 2016 turnover. And the situation we're looking at right now is that the Kasvuryhmä companies managed to grow 7% in the first year of our operations and 13% in the second year. I have to say, even though I've been inspiring everybody to do this, I was still extremely proud of these companies. And I think this calls for the first applause of the evening for the Kasvuryhmä companies. Sorry, I realized I skipped the slides a bit too fast. Okay, but this is just numbers. What kind of stories does this really consist of, this whole picture? I want to highlight to you, I hope all of you take the chance to really get to know Kasvuryhmä companies and all of you amazing scale-ups and other people in this audience, but just to give you 3 ideas of what kind of stories is this growth really made up of. I'm going to highlight 3 Kasvuryhmä members and concretely what they do. First, we have our dear own fish salesman, as he calls himself, kalakauppias, Veijo Hukkanen from Sastamala. Veijo is super ambitious and he's making amazing fish products for all of us and bringing them to our tables. And Veijo has been active in Kasvuryhmä since the very beginning. In our last peer-to-peer coaching meeting, he came to me and said that, "Oh no, I have a problem. We were supposed to fulfill our outrageous promises in the next 5 years, but I've already filled mine and it's only been less than 2 years." So as you can hear from this, Veijo is the man we need to save Finland. Another great man from a completely different kind of industry, the construction industry, is Juha Metsälä from Pohjola Rakennus, which is a thriving construction company from Pirkanmaa. Juha has been building their growth on a really strong culture for growth, how to really get your whole team to do this together. And as you can see, the numbers speak for themselves. As a third example, yet again, a completely different kind of industry. Elisabeth Ritola is leading Deborah, which is a company that is disrupting the traditional caregiving industry. And they are doing that in quite an interesting way of relying on self-organized teams, which means that the teams don't have any official leadership mechanisms, but they can actually manage themselves. If you don't yet know about the Buurtzorg model or self-organizing teams, you should definitely go talk to Elisabeth about all of this, because this is definitely stuff of the 21st century. Okay, but now we're here at KASKI. Tonight is quite simply about one question, which is, how do you concretely transform from a grown-up company, by that we mean a company that is doing nicely, it's doing nice profits, everything's good, it has a well-established size and position in its market, but it's not really growing at all, or is growing really modestly, into a scale-up, which is a similar company, but with double-digit growth. That may sound simple as a question, but it's everything but, as we will know tonight. Tonight will be all about to-the-point, vulnerable, straightforward, and honest lessons learned that we give from one another. I really hope you enjoy this evening. Thanks and welcome.